I'm going live with Facebook right now.
Okay, I'm going to put myself on stop video and mute.
Here. I'm going to put Candela in.
She's in, and it says you're streaming live. Would you like me to open up the waiting room?
Yes. Candela, are you ready for that? Is she in?
Sorry, I'm talking to you and I'm muted. I am just, okay, so I do have us here on Facebook. So yep, I'm all set with Facebook.
And I will sit with the chat, Carol. So you get to decide if you want me to read the questions or you want to let them unmute themselves.
No, I think that's, I am definitely going to have you read the questions.
Okay.
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 Let's just.
And if I'm asked questions, I'll make myself visible to answer.
Okay.
All righty.
Let him in.
Hello, how's everybody doing?
Hey, Jerry, how are you?
Good, good.
Hi, how are y'all doing? This is Laura. Good to see y'all.
Laura.
Hey, Laura. All right.
So Jerry, this is your meeting because it started out as a government affairs meeting and then we opened it up to our members. And it's great to see a bunch of you here, and we'll get started in just a minute. But one thing I was going to let you know, Jerry, is that earlier today I was talking to Representative Mo Maestas, and he offered to come on the call today. He's the one who authored the House Bill 255 for alcohol deliveries and everything alcohol. And so he's here today and we want to welcome him. And I won't put him on the spot just yet. I've got some other announcements before we do, but I do want to welcome him.
All right. Since we do have so many people on the call today, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jerry Harrell. I'm the general manager at the Double Eagle Restaurant in Mesilla, New Mexico, and chair of the Government Affairs Committee. And that's the meeting we're having today. So we'll call the meeting to order. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Carol and Allison, and we'll move from there.
All right, just a couple of things that I wanted to make sure everybody knows about. Number one, you know, coming out of COVID, one of the things we wanted to do is market restaurants or give restaurants a platform to shine. And so we are doing a podcast called New Mexico Restaurants Now. And basically we're just shining the spotlight on different restaurant owners, chefs, managers, whoever it is. And if you'd like to be on that podcast, you can get a hold of us at events@nmrestaurants.org, and we'd be happy to put you on our calendar for that. The next thing is you are on the New Mexico Restaurant Association member call, the 2021 legislative recap, and we'll be doing that in just a moment. And I want to tell you about two other webinars that I think you really should participate in. The first one is with the National Restaurant Association tomorrow. It says 11 a.m. and I believe that's correct because it's 1 a.m. Eastern time. This is with Chuck Schumer, and he's going to be talking about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And I think, so this is that fund for restaurants only that came out of the last relief grant. And I am determined that our members are going to participate in this. It's a limited fund. There's only $28 billion in it.
Billion.
Billion, yes. And so you would think that would be a lot of money, but with a lot of the restaurants having been shut down last year, that's going to go fairly fast. So I want you to be on this webinar, and then I want you to keep your eye out on the Restaurant Association's emails, because we will have another webinar either with a CPA or somebody in the know, possibly with the Small Business Administration, because I believe they are the ones that are going to be handling this. But please keep an eye out for that, because I really want you all to take advantage of the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And then the last thing is, on Wednesday, we're doing another webinar, and that webinar is on the ERTC, which is the Employee Retention Tax Credit. And you know, at one point we talked about this last year, and there were parameters that you couldn't use this if you got a PPP loan. There were other parameters on it. Anyway, all of those parameters have gone away, and you can go back and get money for the people that you did not lay off. And so it's really important for you to be on this webinar on Wednesday. Restaurants are getting, you know, like $200,000, and this is money that doesn't go against your Restaurant Revitalization Fund. It doesn't go against your ERTC, it doesn't go against your PPP loans. This is money that we need to be getting. And then the last thing I'll say is that there were a couple of bills that were passed during the legislature, the state legislature. And as we get more information on those bills and how to access the grant money or the fund money from those, we will be sure and keep you updated. And mostly we do our updates through our email. As you can see, that's where you're going to get a lot of your updates. So make sure you're getting that email. If you're not, you can go to our webpage. This is our webpage, and the news you need, you can subscribe here and get those updates. And I really, really highly encourage you to do that, because you know we're making sure that you are staying on top of all the rules and regulations, and now more than ever, these grants that you need to be getting as well. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about the legislative session, and this is what came out of it. So if you need this information, it's always on our website. You can go to legislative, you can go to legislative tracker, and here's the 2021 legislative recap. So you can see that House Bill 255, alcohol deliveries, is the first thing on here, and we will discuss that, but I want to go through a few other things first, because some people may not be interested in the alcohol legislation, but they are interested in some of the other legislation that was passed. So I'm going to take it's really going to go fairly fast. There were only a few bills that were passed, and I know that some of you want updates on bills that weren't passed. So, and you can ask questions if you would type them in, because there's so many people on the call, it gets a little bit hairy if we don't chat those. And then towards the end, I will answer all of your questions. So moving on from House Bill 255, which we will get back to, we have the restaurant gross receipts tax deduction. A lot of you are calling this a tax holiday. It is more than that. So basically, the gross receipts tax collected from March 1st through June 30th will be refunded to the restaurant, but not quick service restaurants. So this only really deals with restaurants that are sit-down restaurants. And you can see here, this came out to most of you who pay through your GRT, but we also have this up on our website. And the first part of this talks about the income tax rebate for the low-income folks. And that was a $600 tax rebate. And then here's the temporary deduction from sales of prepared food and drinks. So again, you can read this here. It tells you how to take advantage of it if you're a paper filer, how to take advantage of it if you are an electronic filer. So I'm not going to go into that because you really need to read it to know. And I don't want to read everything to you today. Couple of other bills that have gone through, and this bill was signed by the governor, is to waive liquor license fees for 2021. Some of you may have paid liquor license fees already. If you have, these will be waived from what I understand in 2022. Basically, you will get 1 year waived of your liquor license fee. And that bill was signed by the governor, and we do appreciate that. Senator Liz Stefanik and Allison and Representative Maestas, if I misspeak here, please don't hesitate to tell me, but Senator Liz Stefanik was the lead on that bill, and I thought that was very kind of her. I think she saw the inequity of having us pay for a liquor license in a year where we couldn't use it, and so she was adamant that we get that money back. We also had the small business recovery, and again, that was Senate Bill 3. It has been signed by the governor, and it makes changes to the state loan fund. I don't know if you remember last year they came out with $300 million, but it was a loan that would be due or have a balloon payment in 3 or 4 years. And so they made big changes to that loan fund, and it is now a 30-year loan. So if you need a loan, you need to look at both the EIDL, if you haven't gotten that one yet, and then also this small business recovery loan has very good low interest rates, and it's a 30-year loan. So this one, House Bill 11, which is Gross Receipts Tax and Permanent Fund for LEDA, has business recovery grants that are limited to $100,000, which is paid quarterly. And it has to do with the number of full-time employees you bring back to your business. We have not seen the rules on this, and I'm really hesitant to talk about it before we see rules. But again, as soon as the rules come out on this, we will have somebody, possibly somebody from LEDA, come and talk to us about how this is going to happen and how you can apply for that grant money. The tourism department got part of their money, but not all of it, and the additional monies were all tabled in committee. The unemployment contribution rate, this actually was tabled.
Carol, if I may just interject something
Sure.
on when you say the other remaining monies was tabled in committee, just a procedural thing on how these appropriations bills actually, what happens to them is when they get into House appropriations, if there is money that needs to be put in there or language that needs to be attached, those bills are tabled. And then the money either moves in the budget in House Bill 2 or in a subsequent bill, which we nickname House Bill 2 Junior, and that could be a Senate bill or a House bill. So just want to let you know, when you're seeing that, when you see tabled, that's customary practice. And the only time that bill number will then advance, they will strip the appropriation and advance the bill if there's enabling language that needs to pass as well. So basically what we're saying there is, okay, they did want 25 million, but in the budget, they were able to get, I believe, 7 million and then an additional, I don't have the exact numbers in the top of my head on that, but they did not get their 25, but I just wanted to bring out that is customary practice for those bills to be tabled.
So, and I think that's what happened to House Bill 148 as well with this unemployment contribution rate. So I believe the tourism department got about 10 million total altogether, and the unemployment is going to be shored up, but we believe it'll be through the most recent federal grant to the state. And the idea is that they're going to put in $600 million, not the 300 million that was in this bill. This bill also had a rate increase, and it did not go through, so that rate increase did not go through. The one I think you all, and as it gets closer, we'll get into this a little bit more, but the one that you were all very interested in is the sick leave bill, which was House Bill 20. It did pass, but it passed with an extension on it that allowed it to go into effect in July of 2022. So we have some time, not only to get ready for this bill and what's coming. It's for every 30 hours somebody works, they get 1 hour of paid leave, up to 64 hours a year.
And you can use a PTO program if you have a PTO program that allows flex time that can go to satisfy the requirements of the act, as long as they have at least the 64 hours that they can take for sick leave. So that was amended into the bill.
Yes, so, and then one other thing that was amended out was it had an emergency clause for any emergency called by the governor. It had an additional 80 hours that if you were shut down, you had to pay an additional 80 hours to all of your employees. That was taken out. And I think that's just fair, but we'll talk about this more over the next year, but we're actually hoping that in the next legislative session, we can get some of the more onerous pieces of this out and make it just a little bit more business friendly. So that is important to us. The phased minimum wage, the $15 and taking away the tip minimum wage was not passed. It didn't continue going through. As you all know, we negotiated a minimum wage bill not 2 years ago. And so this didn't have legs. We also had the same thing coming up, exactly the same $15 minimum wage with removing the tip minimum wage in the federal system. And between ours, and I mean New Mexico and the rest of the states and the National Restaurant Association, we managed to get that taken out of the federal relief bill. So you dodged a bullet there for a moment. And I think the message I want to give you on this phased minimum wage is that it's probably coming. We need to make a real and sustained effort to let our legislators and Congress folks understand and let them know how the tipped wage really works, because they do not know. They think it's a sub minimum wage, and if people are paid that, they aren't paid the minimum wage. We know better, but we do need to let folks know that. The Paid Family and Medical Leave Act was not passed, and making a presumption that coronavirus is a disease caused at work did not go through as well on the workers' comp bill. And I thank you all, because I know we had quite a bit coming out this session on our grassroots, and you guys made a huge difference. We sent over, I think it was 10,000 emails to the governor's office and different legislators as well. Now I'm gonna, because we have Representative Maestas here, and I want to respect his time. I'm going to go ahead and have and start talking about House Bill 255. And you can see on this page, we have a copy of the final bill here, but we also have an analysis that I've done. And I'm going to read the disclaimer because I really need you all to understand this. And also what Representative Maestas and myself, whatever we represent here, it's not in regulation yet. And the rules and regulations follow the statute, but not always to the T. And so we won't know exactly how some of this is going to play out until the regulations come out. So please do not make any business decisions using this analysis of the writing, and also do not make any business decisions with this talk. You need to include some folks before you make business decisions in what we're talking about. Welcome, Representative Maestas. I'm going to give you the floor for a minute.
Thank you. Thanks for having me and great to see everybody. My name is Antonio Maestas. I'm a member of the House. I represent the West Mesa of Albuquerque, west of the river, north and south of I-40 from Central to Montano. But anyway, just kind of in brief, just want to thank everybody for their input. I know there was tremendous anxiety over House Bill 255, but I think we have some great policy to shape the restaurant industry in the near future and the future. So here's the big changes. One is you're allowed alcohol delivery. You're allowed alcohol delivery, which will be fantastic, but it's restricted. It's restricted to 1 bottle of wine, a 6-pack of alcoholic beverage. So not just beer, but a 6-pack of alcoholic beverage, or 1 New Mexico produced growler of beer, which I think is a gallon of beer. Also, you can serve alcoholic beverages for pickup. With regards to your premise, you no longer have to petition the alcohol beverage control division to change your alcohol footprint, so to speak. We changed the definition of premise in statute so that it applies to your entire structure. And I believe, depending on the rule, I believe it'll apply to your entire piece of property. So it'll be easier to extend out into the patio. Obviously, we don't want to create like a drive-through pickup liquor delivery situation. So you have to go in the store or in the restaurant rather to do pickup. And then of course we have a restaurant B license. If you're eligible for a beer and wine license, in other words, 60% of your sales are food, 60% or more are food, you close at 11, you don't have a physical bar, other restrictions of the current beer and wine license, for $10,000 annually, you can purchase a restaurant B license, which would allow you to sell spirits. And in all spirits up until 11 o'clock with a 3-drink maximum of spirituous liquors per customer. You can also, for $500 in addition to the beer and wine license, get a restaurant A permit and sell New Mexico distilled spirits. So it'll be a limited menu of spirits, but any New Mexico distilled spirit you can sell and create like a really cool cultural aspect to your restaurant that way. If you close at 11 and you currently have an interlocal dispenser's license, you essentially get a second interlocal dispenser's license. What I mean by that is you can purchase a restaurant B license from the state and utilize your interlocal however you choose, with a second location or lease it or sell it or transfer it and make some money that way. We're totally cognizant of people's investments and the market value of your current license, the future expected income, as well as recent investments that haven't been paid off yet. So, but we can't legally just write you a check as a state government because it's technically not a property right. It's not a taking. So we did several things. One is we waived liquor license fees for 5 years for all current license holders. That'll also apply to a restaurant B. So that's save you up to $50,000 there. Also $200,000 tax deductions, $50,000 a year over 4 years. That's not a lot, but it's a little bit of love for current license holders, as well as waiving of all GRT in the current year and waiving your liquor licenses for this past 6 months as well. So the law goes into effect July 1st. I spoke with the liquor director today. He's going to try to get the forms ready and the applications ready so you can apply for a restaurant B prior to July 1st and then hit the ground running with your restaurant B July 1st. Keep in mind, you have to close by 11, same requirements as a beer and wine, to draw a distinction between those bars and taverns and restaurants. But hopefully this will enhance your private business, your industry, and the overall cultural aspect of food services, hospitality, and tourism throughout the state of New Mexico. Some other things that may not apply to restaurants in particular, we outlawed miniatures. So you can no longer purchase miniatures for off-site consumption. So your restaurants can have miniatures to make drinks or whatnot. They'll be available in the hotel minibar, planes, golf courses, but you cannot purchase them for off-site consumption because, as we all know, they're consumed in vehicles as folks are driving away. Sunday sales will be just like any other day. So Sunday, Christmas, Election Day, every single day in the calendar will be treated the same, 7 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock at night. So folks can have, champagne Sunday brunch, whatever. So hopefully that'll be helpful as well. To be a delivery person, you have to be 21, same restriction as a as a bartender, but your servers can be 18. So that'll be lowered from 19 to 18 to serve beverages, to your restaurant customers.
Only in restaurants, right? Not in bars.
Theoretically, but I don't think 18-year-old will be serving drinks in a bar. But
No,
to
I
be a
think that's-
server, to mix the drinks, or to be a bartender, or to be a deliverer, you have to be 21. To be a server, it drops from 19 to 18. And but I'm here to answer questions, any and all questions. For those folks who have the old school full dispenser's license, or the canopy license, where you have packaged liquor and by the drink, those licenses are not affected by this law. In my opinion, there's no new liquor stores in the state of New Mexico. There's no new packaged liquor licenses in the state of New Mexico, and you get delivery. So you could have an employee deliver on your behalf, or contract with third-party deliverers. There's no quantity restrictions on delivery. So theoretically, you could deliver 10 cases of beer, to somebody on a Saturday morning for a party. In McKinley County, one last thing, Ms. Wright, in McKinley County, we outlawed liquor sales and gas stations. So a location can no longer sell gas and spirituous liquors. And for those liquor licenses in McKinley County, they can move outside of that local option district and retain their package to maintain that incredibly high market value, to incentivize a couple liquor licenses to leave McKinley County, which has a disproportionate number of liquor licenses. And then also, if you've purchased a canopy license since January 1, 2017, you can actually sell that canopy license or move it across county lines and it not lose its package either. There's about 11 of them statewide, and we believe that 4 or 5 of them are slated to go to Sandoval County, 1 to San Miguel County. But the towns that are really going to receive a boost, in my opinion, are Alamogordo, Rio Rancho, and Farmington in particular from this new law. So thank you.
Thanks so much. And I am going to take everybody through this. It's 5 pages. I'm going to do it by sections, so that you can go in and you can look at the show you here again. You can read the final copy of the bill, and this is our analysis, and it goes by section. Section 1 is a deduction, income from leasing a liquor license. So this is a taxpayer who is a liquor license leaseor, and this is a deduction from net income. This is an income from leasing a liquor license. So again, a liquor license leaseor, and this is a deduction from taxable income. These are in amounts equal to the gross receipts from sales of alcoholic beverages not to exceed $50,000 on both of those. And then the third one is sales made by a dispenser license holder. So this is for you all who own licenses. You may deduct gross receipts for your dispenser's license not to exceed $50,000. There's a double disclaimer on these 3, and that is you need to talk to your CPA and ask what this means for your business. It'll also become much clearer when the rules are promulgated by the Taxation and Revenue Division on that. So in this, I don't believe we're going to be looking to the Alcohol Beverage Control Division to promulgate the rules on that. We will be looking to the Taxation and Revenue Department. Is that right?
Correct.
So, and you said a couple of things. No, you said one thing, Representative Maestas, that I need to ask you to clarify. I'm going to go through this, and because this is how I read it. So if you have a valid liquor license, including a retailer, dispenser, craft distiller, wine grower, small brewer, or restaurant license, you can apply to get a delivery license. If you're a restaurant, you can only deliver alcohol with a $10 food order. The delivered beverages can't be more than a 750 milliliter of wine, which we all know that's a bottle of wine, 6 12-ounce containers of prepackaged wine, beer, cider, or spirituous liquors. So I have a question on the spirituous liquors, because I remembered it like you remembered it, that the spirituous liquors were not included in delivery. But in the final bill that I read, spirituous liquors were included. Is that, do you know anything about that, Representative?
Thank you. I'll look now and reread it. But yes, there was no distinction. There was amongst the restaurants, the original bill had a 6-pack of beer, but I changed that to include a 6-pack of alcoholic beverage. So theoretically, you could deliver cans of margaritas or.
Okay,
Bloody
okay.
whatnot.
So
But
that
with
is,
regards to liquor stores can deliver whatever they want.
okay.
But restaurants are
Um,
restricted to a bottle of wine, a 6-pack of an alcoholic beverage, or a growler of beer with a $10
Okay.
purchase. $10 purchase of food.
And then if you have a retail space of over 10,000 square feet, which really has to do with grocery stores for the most part, it doesn't necessarily have to do with restaurants. And this is going to be very dependent on what the alcohol and gaming department defines as retail space. So as in a grocery store, your retail space would be most of your building with very little staging. Restaurants have quite a bit more staging, and I don't know if they're going to say the retail space is just your floor space. Just because we have like 2 or 3, maybe 4 restaurants in New Mexico that have over 10,000 square feet, I'm hoping that this won't necessarily encompass them. So payments of alcohol shall be received only at the licensed premise, although you can take payment electronically via the internet as well. The licensee shall not change the price for delivered alcohol, but they can charge delivery fee. But the delivery fee has to be disclosed to the customer, which is a little bit awkward because that's not really the way our Uber Eats and all of those third-party deliveries work, but we're going to have to make them work within this law. You can't deliver to a school, a business, or a commercial establishment, college or university campus or school. You must obtain the proof of the recipient's age, and you can't sell to an intoxicated person, just like we've always done. No minors, no intoxicated people. You may use an employee who is 21 with a server permit to deliver, or you can use a third-party delivery service that also has a delivery license. So if you're contracted with a third-party delivery company and they are delivering alcohol, you need to make sure that they have the license to deliver alcohol before you hand them alcohol to deliver, because the liability will come back to you in this law. There was third party is independently liable for the delivery of alcohol to an intoxicated person or a minor, or for any other violation of the Liquor Control Act. But of course, any of you who have been in a lawsuit know that that liability is a chain back to, the guy who made the booze. Not really. The third-party delivery service may not share in the profits and may only charge a delivery fee, which, again, that's not really the way third-party companies do it, but we're going to have to make sure that they're following these laws as well. Under the definitions, and Representative Maestas mentioned this, licensed premise means contiguous areas of the structure and grounds that are under the direct control of the licensee. So if you have large grounds that you would like, people to be able to go walk around with a drink, I think that's what this allows you to do. And that's huge for some of our members. I know some of them get very frustrated because their customers come over from Texas and expect things to be like Texas, and they have to make them either leave their drink inside or not go walking around. And so I think this is a good change for us. Okay, this provision gets rid of miniature sales. This section prohibits spirituous sales in convenience stores in McKinley County. And again, and that's for the retailer's license. And then there's section 8 that prohibits spirituous licenses in convenience stores in McKinley County for dispenser licenses as well. There's other things to these sections. I just want to mention that these are the things that changed that I could tell. So for the restaurant license, and I want to say there's questions here about having a counter and a bar in a restaurant with the restaurant license B. And nowhere in the statute does it talk about a counter or bar seating. But in the rules and regulations, it does talk about that. And so I believe from just from my limited discussions with the Alcohol and Beverage Control Director, he did mention that he was going to keep that restriction in the Restaurant B licensee. So the other restrictions, let's see. Primary source of revenue must be from food, not from liquor, a 60-40 split at least, and sales shall cease at 11 p.m. Restaurant B license shall serve no more than 1.5 ounce drinks to any person during any one visit. For these licensees, one must have a current valid food service license. So you can't be a bar and open with a Restaurant B license. You have to have a food service license. And again, the primary source has to be food. A Restaurant A license, which is a beer and wine license. If you've had that for more than 12 months, you can get a New Mexico spirituous liquor license for a fee of $500. And Representative, one thing, I was talking to some folks, and there's a lot of these distilleries that only distribute amongst themselves, and we don't have large distribution necessarily from those folks. And I know that's something that we've got to figure out, but that may be something that we have to figure out with the Alcohol and Beverage Control Department, just because right now we have the 3-tier system where we have to get it from a distributor. And right now the local distilleries are not necessarily going through those distributors. So it's just something to think about before this license gets going too quickly. And craft distillers was changed a little bit. Governmental licenses, you know, and wine growers licenses changed a little bit. And this is interesting. So for license holders who purchased their license from 2017 to 2021 shall be charged no fee and shall not pay a fee for license renewal from 2022 to 2031. Can you explain that, Representative? You're on mute.
Thank you. So this is to, you know, like I said, we're very cognizant of people's investments and trying to make them whole as within the confines of the law. So essentially you get free liquor. You don't have to pay any liquor license fees for 5 years.
And that's only if you bought it from 2017 to 2021.
That was in the original House version, but I believe we waived it for everyone, but I'll have to look at section 13. There was, we waived it for 5 years and then we waived it for 10. The final version, I think is for interlocals in general, but let me check.
Okay, if you don't mind, because I thought I had the final version when I wrote that.
Okay.
So if you'll look, and we'll come back to that. Under license fees and permits, Restaurant B license will be $10,000. A delivery license will cost $300 if you already have a liquor license, and $1,000 for third-party delivery services. If a retailer, dispenser, or canopy license purchased before 2021, there shall be no fee for applications filed by the licensee or successor licenses on or before 2026. So this gives you, 6 years to, if you're filing for, let's say, a delivery license, you don't have to pay that.
So Carol, you're correct. You're correct. If you purchase your license starting January 1 of 2017 till now, you get 10-year waiver on all liquor license fees.
Okay. So something that happened with the brewers, wineries, and distilleries is that they're going to have reciprocal sales with each other. And that's the only thing that changed with them that I could tell. Interlocal option district and intercounty transfers. Again, that changed for McKinley County. So they can sell outside of McKinley County, but you can't sell into McKinley County. Is that correct? You're on mute again.
No, thank you. Thank you. So McKinley County, we did two things. One is we outlawed spirituous liquor sales and gas at the same location. So a gas station has to make a choice whether to sell gas or sell spirituous liquors. And then also if you sell or transfer rather a liquor license from McKinley County, it retains its full market capabilities. So it doesn't lose its package component if you sell it from McKinley County outside of McKinley County. So it maintains an incredibly high market value. And the policy is to try to incentivize 2 or 3 licenses to leave McKinley County. McKinley County has a disproportionate number of liquor licenses. Just kind of happened historically.
So the other piece to this interlocal option district transfer is that if you can petition 5% of the registered voters, you can trigger an election to keep liquor licenses from being transferred into your local option district. This is just kind of a reversal of how we used to have to do this. So if you wanted, let's just say the beer and wine license, you had to have an election and you had to get 5% of the registered voters in the very beginning. Eventually it became that you could get your local option district, local elected officials to make that decision. And so that's the way it's been for a while now. So, and a bunch of these just add delivery for grounds for suspension, revocation, adds delivery, hearings, locations, adds delivery, administrative proceedings, adds delivery. Appeal, remove the writ of mandamus and injunction language. And I'm not exactly sure what this does. And Representative Maestas is a lawyer, so he may be able to tell us, but I know that a writ of mandamus is where you file to force the revocation of a license, not going through the administrative appeal process. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. It was just kind of archaic language in the statute. And so we believed it was not necessary. So it's, you have access to the courts, you have access to your administrative remedies. And then if you exhaust your administrative remedies, you have access to the courts. But we don't need to put in statute exactly, criminal procedure or a civil procedure rather. That was the thought process with regards to that.
Okay. Again, adding delivery permit to definitions to the server permit to server alcohol server education. And then Sunday sales. This is a big deal because this is in restaurants as well, that Sunday sales start whenever you open. And what a relief, right? Something we've kind of fought for a while. And there are counties that don't have Sunday sales. So does this allow them to sell?
Great question. I think they're now eligible to sell all day, but if they've blanket prohibited Sunday sales, then I believe that prohibition still exists. But if the, but you're no longer, you don't have to wait till the clock strikes 11. Sunday is treated like every other day. Christmas, Sunday, and election day is treated like every other day. But I don't know if the local option district can prohibit that or not. This law didn't change that aspect of it.
Okay, and I believe they can. I know we have a problem with one of our restaurants in Placitas. She can't sell on Sunday and it drives her crazy. And I think that's Sandoval County of all counties. Anyway, we'll talk about that maybe for next year's major changes to the liquor laws, if we're ever going to do it again. Here's sale, shipment, and delivery is unlawful. And actually this did change, but it just says you can deliver, but only if you follow the law, and the law is written in there. Offenses by licenses adds delivery to the prohibition of sales to an intoxicated person. Sales by clubs, and this one I don't know much about because we don't really deal with clubs. So if you're a club, Representative Maestas put his contact information in here, and I'm sure he'd be glad to talk to you about that, but I want to move on. So this is big. The documentary evidence of age of identity. An identity document is valid for purposes of Liquor Control Act, even if it's expired. That's new, that's different. Except for deliveries, it is unnecessary to ask for an identity document of a person that clearly looks older than 35 years of age. That's different. And I think it's a good thing. I mean, I always felt bad when some, gray-haired little old lady that doesn't have a driver's license is asked for an identity, and then the server refuses to serve her because she doesn't have an ID. So don't have to do that. Again, and that's the same thing in section 31, and you'll read the heading of section 31. Wish we had changed this. Refusal to sell, serve, or deliver alcoholic beverages to a person unable to produce identity card. So again, an identity is valid even if it's expired, and it's unnecessary to ask for identity document of a person clearly looks older than 35 years of age. And the older I get, it's not clear to me. So I get it, but I think there's some folks, gray-haired little ladies, you don't have to do that to. Employment of minors. So this is how I read the employment of minors. A person holding a dispenser's, restaurant, or club license may employ persons 18 years of age or older to serve alcoholic beverages in an establishment that is held out to the public as a place where meals are prepared and served, and the primary source of revenue is food, and where the sale or consumption of alcoholic beverages is not the primary activity, except that a person under 21 years of age shall not be employed as a bartender or deliverer. So you couldn't have an under 21 server in a bar. It has to be in a restaurant. And this is something I know because a couple of my members got in trouble because what they did was they managed a restaurant, and then they went to manage a bar, and they thought they could have under 21 servers, and they could not.
No, good catch. The only change was the word 19 changed to the word 18.
Right, yes, thank you. And I don't know if this changed the locations near a church or school. I know it went back and forth.
Thank you. So I tried to wipe that out just completely. The Senate amended it. So restaurants are allowed to go within 300 feet of a school or church, but no one else.
Okay. Well,
But I believe the local jurisdiction has to allow it. But at least now they're allowed to allow it.
good, yes.
But we need to take that out at some point. It really diminishes property values and potential business ventures, you know.
It is very hard, and especially, you know, Allison has used this example before. The downtown Las Cruces couldn't attract any retail spaces, so they attracted churches. And now, and the churches, I don't think would mind if you had a liquor license next to them, but they couldn't do that because it was in law. So this at least allows for that in restaurants to be in those areas. So I appreciate that too. So the effective date is July 1st, 2021, and we'll be lucky if the department gets it together by then. I know they're scrambling. We also have a alcohol server certification online that we're trying to scramble to make sure that all of this information gets into. We actually have to wait for the department before they tell us what needs to go into that certification. So we will see, but we will have that available as soon as it's available to us. We have a lot of questions, 32 messages, and I appreciate everybody waiting. That's the end of that, and you can also go again to our website and find this information. So Dion, I'm going to ask you to gather the questions and ask them for Representative Maestas and myself. And Representative Maestas, I understand you do have a call that you need to get on. Is that, or did we miss that already?
At 3 o'clock, but I'm fine.
And Carol,
Okay,
Representative Maestas has answered some of those questions in chat. So Diane might use
Okay.
it to avoid those.
Thank you.
Yes, we will try to skip some of those. We might be able to go back to them if time allows, just because we do have a Facebook audience as well who is not privy to the chat that we've been sharing. Let's go to the questions from Barb. Does the exclusion of the prepackaged beverages apply to wine and beer sales if opened during sit-down dining?
That would I suppose you could recork the bottle of wine like you can now, but alcohol to go or alcohol delivery, I don't believe can be put in a cup. I think it would have to be in a prepackaged sealed container.
Now, the prepackaged sealed containers, would that include any type of alcohol? That helps one of our other questions about a 6-pack of tequila.
Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, yes. It's 6 12-ounce containers of alcoholic beverage. So it's a bottle of wine, a 6-pack of whatever, or a growler of beer.
And for those of you who don't know, they actually have wine in cans now. And they have margaritas in cans, they have gin and tonics in cans, they have all kinds of things. So consider what you're going to put on your menu if you're going to change your menu. But and you also have to have a license to sell those. So if you have a beer and wine license, you can't sell spirituous liquors. But if you have a restaurant B license, you can sell spirituous liquors. And
There is a related question and a little further down, and Dion, excuse me for jumping ahead on that, but it's related to
please.
this topic. And it is, can you mix the drink at your bar and then deliver that, have that be delivered? And it's my understanding it's a no on that, but I'd like the representative to give his take on that, and it may all depend on rule.
Thank you. I would say no. Let me look at the language right now. I would think the liquor director would say no, unless it's somehow sealed up. But as Carol mentioned, you can get cans of pretty much whatever to add to your menu. But let me see what the words are, and I'll put my lawyer hat on just a second.
yeah, I kept just for folks, Allison and I diligently tried to get sealed containers taken out of that or changed up to the point that the seal could be, well, in Colorado, a sealed container is a lid with a straw hole in it. In New Mexico, that's not what they're going to allow, but there are some other sealed containers that we might use. And I will talk to the alcohol director and see how he's gonna promulgate those rules. But go ahead.
Are we waiting for another
No.
question or
No, I think,
or for
Yeah, please
representative?
continue. Please continue. I'm reading it now. Don't
Okay.
wait for me.
Oh, okay. Many New Mexico distilleries contract with out-of-state distillers, so that much of their product is actually made out of state and bottled in state. So would this still be considered a New Mexico product?
Yes, the words in statute are produced or bottled in New Mexico by a New Mexico distiller.
Okay. And are you able to tell us why the renewal jumped up to 10,000? It's pretty much pretty
Yes,
stiff
that was,
cost.
no, I understand. That was a Senate amendment. I had it tiered 5,000, 2,500, 5,000, 7,500, 10,000, depending on the size of your restaurant. And the Senate just went straight 10,000. There was obviously a tremendous pushback from current license owners that wanted to emphasize the seriousness of the license, that there's no disincentive for carelessness if you don't have, if you don't pay enough for the license. That was the argument that was made by but the Senate just put everything at 10,000.
And that is only the restaurant B license. That's not if you have an ILD or if any other type of license. It's just the restaurant B license is my understanding.
No, great
As
point.
well.
Simply for the restaurant B, we're trying to create space between the new restaurant Bs and the current interlocal license holders to retain that market value. But however, great news, licenses are free this year. So if you get your license from July 1st to December 31st, you save $10,000.
that was going to be one of my questions, is if we apply for it this year, we get, wow, that's a big savings. Yeah, and I also want to explain that the $10,000 really, was to help even out those licenses so that, it still costs a lot to get a restaurant B license. It's not the $300,000, but if you, have your restaurant for 30 years, that $300,000 would be paid off with that $10,000 renewal. And the renewals for the dispenser and retailers is somewhere around $1,300 or $1,500 a year. So please don't, if you have an ILD license or dispensers or retailers license, it is not going to be $10,000 to renew it. It's only going to be the same thing you've been paying on an annual basis, which is the $1,300 or $1,500.
So
More
we have
questions?
two delivery questions. I'm trying to combine as many as I can. Restaurants require a $10 food order and limits on wine, beer, and spirits for delivery. Does that apply to a wine grower's license as well? And can you ask about delivery to hotel rooms in resort towns especially?
Thank you. I don't know. It depends. If you're a winery, then you could deliver, however many. If you're a restaurant that has a winery license, I don't know. I think the liquor director will treat you as a restaurant and restrict you, but I don't know the answer to that. And your second question?
My second question was about delivery to hotel rooms.
That is not prohibited. That is not prohibited. So you could, correct, you could have alcohol delivery to your hotel rooms.
Good. Now this may need clarification later. And we seal growlers to go with electrical tape. It's a common practice. We also make cocktails, bottle them, and seal them the same way to sell as a packaged item in a restaurant that has the license to do this currently. I'd assume that sealing a cocktail in this way would qualify for the rule about a sealed container. Could you clarify, please?
If I were the liquor director, the answer would be yes. The magic words are more, cannot be more than 750 milliliters of wine, 6 12-ounce containers of prepackaged wine, beer, cider, or spirituous liquors, or 1 locally produced growler. That's what's in statute.
Okay. And I know we've said this a couple of times in chat, but just for the Facebook crowd as well, just clarify for us that none of these items are going active until July 1st, including the hiring of the 18-year-old servers.
Correct. No, great point. Everything kicks in 12:01 a.m. July 1st. That's when the law becomes, so I missed out. My daughter turns 19 on June 26th, and she is not happy that this law does not apply to her.
So I have a question. Do these laws, I mean, laws go into effect even if there's not rules promulgated for them, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I think the rules with regards to restaurant Bs is pretty straightforward. I'm confident that you'll be able to apply for the restaurant Bs in May or June and get the restaurant B in July. The tricky part's going to be on the delivery aspect of it and the public safety aspect of the delivery. The not showing an ID if you're 35 or older, that does not apply to delivery. Delivery, you will still have to produce a valid ID, and only 21-year-olds can do delivery, same as bartenders.
Will the restaurant type B apply to McKinley County? Will they be eligible for those?
They are, but McKinley County has to opt in. All the other 32 counties have to opt out. So on July 1st, boom, restaurant Bs in all 32 counties by law. McKinley County would have to opt in to the restaurant B license opportunity.
Okay. I do believe we've covered everything, but if I have missed something or something was not covered when Carol went over the notes, could you please raise your hand and we will make sure your question gets answered.
While we're waiting for that, Representative Maestas, the question about, you said delivery to hotel rooms was allowed, but did you mean by the hotel itself or an outside restaurant delivering to hotel rooms? Like, you know, pizza goes to hotel rooms all the time.
Both, but correct. There's no prohibition for someone in a hotel room. So a person in a hotel room could order a case of beer on delivery, or a dinner and a bottle of wine on delivery.
So I have a question about that. And my question is, it does say that you can't deliver to a school, a business, a commercial establishment, college or university campus. Wouldn't that be delivering to a business or commercial establishment?
Or you're delivering to the person?
If the delivery director takes a really, frankly, and ridiculous view of that, we don't want people, you know, going from their place of work and driving. We don't want, even if a sorority or fraternity has a bunch of 21 and 22-year-olds, that's prohibited. But even though it's a business location, it is a customer at that business. I would hope that that is not restricted because of that language. I would think that if you're I mean, we're based on tourism, right? I would think that a patron or a tourist staying in a hotel could get alcohol delivered. I can't imagine why that wouldn't be so.
We'll use your statement with the director to try and convince him.
I won't call him a bureaucrat when I talk to him.
Okay, we do have a hand up. Rebecca has a hand up. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Hi, Representative. Thanks for talking to us today. We have a wine grower's license, and we have an existing third-party delivery license that was granted. Now, we never got to use it because there was some sort of differences in opinions about whether we could deliver wine ourselves. Will that delivery license take the place of this new delivery license, or will third-party deliverers like FedEx and UPS have to get a new delivery license under this law as well?
Thank you. No, great question. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the delivery license as it stands now. I think the rules may morph the two of them, or we'll have to fix that next year in statute, but I don't believe one would be prohibitive of the other. Whatever is the most, whatever grants you the largest ability to tap into that market, I would imagine you would be allowed to do.
Okay, thank you.
But
Yeah,
don't
I
understand
I
specifically.
would think they're not really, like, those two are not the same. So a UPS delivery for a winery is going to be much different than a Uber Eats delivery for a restaurant. And I think the rest of that is still in statute. And that doesn't cover this, but I don't know that for a fact. And I'll try to find out for you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
I do have a question because I read through this pretty diligently and I didn't see where they could do takeout liquor.
The that currently is prohibited in statute, and we erased that. We erased the magic word, so it's not in the final draft of the bill. But if you go to the bill as it left the House, we deleted that prohibition that you cannot have alcohol to go. So now I believe you can have alcoholic beverages to go.
Okay, and I think we're gonna want to wait until we get a determination from the director on that. Because I remember some of the talk in the House and in the Senate was that we don't want to bring back the drive-through windows, which would be somebody picking up their alcohol and going on. So so I thought that was taken out, but you may be right. Maybe the whole thing was taken out. The other thing is some people have dispenser licenses that allowed them to do that during COVID. And I don't know what the governor finally decided on that, if she was allowing that or not. Anyway, we will, I'm gonna, go ahead.
If I may, that's a great point. I believe the governor's office, the Alcohol Beverage Control Division loosened, and cities as well loosened the restrictions to create a patio dining with alcohol. I believe that ends in April, so we need to make sure that extends all the way to July 1st. So we should definitely talk to Mr. Bios about that.
Yes, I've been meaning to do that. Thank you for the reminder. Well, so again, I'm going to go back to the disclaimer here. I really appreciate you guys being on here, and we're trying to bring you as much information as we can, as quickly as we can. But the rules will be promulgated for this. And the other thing is that they have to promulgate the rules the correct way, which means that they have to have hearings throughout the state. And I don't know how they're going to do that. They may do that on Zoom. We will let you know when these hearings take place, because what they will do is have the rules available for us. We can read through the rules, make sure that our businesses are protected, and make sure that we have the right information from the statute as well when they're putting these rules together. And so I just, again, stay tuned. We'll get that information to you as soon as we can, and we'll have the final rules and statute for you here on this channel. And everything else you need to run your business and get the good grants and get the good loans. We really appreciate you being here. Any other questions, any other thoughts that we need to go over?
I don't believe we have any other questions, Carol. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'd encourage those of you who aren't members yet to please join the Restaurant Association. Your dues are going to help. I see Jerry smiling at that. Your dues help us provide you with these services. So visit our website at nmrestaurants.org to give us a call, and I'd love to talk to you about it.
Great job, Dion. That's my membership director. Can you tell? She's the best.
And I want to thank everyone
Jerry?
for attending today and for being so responsive to requests for action during the session. It really, really made a difference that the legislators heard from us. This was a very unusual session. There was very little public access to the representatives and senators. And so hearing from you really made a difference in how the legislators considered many of the bills before them. So it just stresses the importance of everyone taking action during these sessions. So unless there's something else, we'll.
If I may just briefly mention to the group that's here today, the legislature will go into a special session tomorrow at noon. The two topics they're going to be taking up will be cannabis and LEDA expansion. So it's possible something in that LEDA bill might be of interest. We'll be keeping a very close eye on that session.
Thank you, Allison. Has there been any changes in the governor's stance about what she's looking for on the marijuana bill?
I do not have an answer to that.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I do not know.
I
I know there are going to be, from what I understand, there are going to be two different bills, one in the Senate, one in the House. I'm not entirely sure if they are the same bill or if there will be different bills. I know Senator Cliff Pirtle from Roswell area has some ideas regarding the cannabis and agriculture. And so his ideas are a little different than what the House version that Representative Martinez was carrying on behalf of the governor. So I'm not entirely sure if any agreements have been made.
Got it. Okay. If there are no other questions, then we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Representative Mayastis for being here too. That's really special. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative, for taking time out of your day.
Thank you much.
Thanks everybody for being here. Good to be here with you. I can never end these things.